Common Purpose, a mysterious collective which seeks to bypass the democratic system by setting up unelected individuals in key government decision-making bodies with extreme socialist and world government agendas. This documentary will investigate the roots of the movement by researching the backgrounds and agendas of the men behind the concept's creation. This program's creators hope that by documenting the life work of this group of mad scientists, whose ideals sprung out of Cold War-era thinking, it will become obvious how the Common Purpose movement fits into the globalist agenda of world domination. World domination. World.
The Masonic Front Group Common Purpose is an international registered charity that charges thousands for communitarian matrix training courses in forms of psychological control, neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. The Delphi technique, consensus creation, and cognitive dissonance. Its main initiation rite is called Matrix. Its mantras and rites are based on the Tavistock Institute of Medical Psychology and on the work of Sir John Rawlings Rees, who was a wartime and civilian psychiatrist and a brigadier in the British Army. He was a member of the group of key figures at the original Tavistock Clinic, and became its medical director in 1934. This group specialized in the new dynamic psychologies of Sigmund Freud and his followers.
Many of Freud's ideas have fallen out of favor or been modified by other analysts, and modern advances in the field of psychology have shown flaws in most of his theories.
Sir John Rawlings Rees and Eric Trist, another key member of the original Tavistock group, who was later to become director of the Tavistock Institute and the World Federation for Mental Health, wrote a book entitled Steps Toward Global Mind Control, under the banner of mental health and education. Tavistock Institute developed the mass brainwashing techniques which were first used experimentally on American prisoners of war in Korea.
Mind control, coercive persuasion, mind abuse, thought control, or thought reform, refers to a process in which a group or individual systematically uses unethically manipulative methods to persuade others to conform to the wishes of the manipulators, also known as brainwashing. Mind control. The term has been applied to any tactic, psychological or otherwise, which can be seen as subverting an individual's sense of control over their own thinking, behavior, emotions or decision-making. Mind control. Mind control.
Experiments in control methods had been widely used on the American public. By modifying individual behavior through topical psychology. A German refugee, Kurt Lewin, became director of Tavistock in 1932. He came to the U.S. in 1933 as a refugee, the first of many infiltrators, and set up the Harvard Psychology Clinic, which originated the propaganda campaign to turn the American public against Germany and involve the U.S. in World War II. In 1938, Roosevelt executed a secret agreement with Churchill, which in effect conceded U.S. sovereignty to England, because it agreed to let Allied Special Operations executives control U.S. military policies. To implement this agreement, Roosevelt sent General William J. Donovan to London for common purpose indoctrination. General Donovan was also charged by Roosevelt with setting up the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, the big intelligence and covert action agency that Truman had suddenly dismantled at the end of World War II. Now the CIA. The entire OSS program, as well as the CIA, has always worked on guidelines set up by the Tavistock Institute. Common Purpose has offices and agents in every municipality and region of the UK, as well as 10,000 agents in the Republic of Ireland, who campaign to convince the Irish to vote for slavery. Course participants are mostly from the media, the legal profession, the police, the military, banking and finance, the education industry, and government. Their fees are subsidized by taxpayers, or written off for tax purposes as charitable donations. Public service departments spend millions sending its people to common purpose courses. There are common purpose graduates worldwide. Prominent graduates run all three branches of Britain's ruling party.
The Common Purpose movement was created to serve the World Control Collective by utilizing brainwashing and mind control techniques devised by Adolf Hitler and his Third Reich monsters. After World War II, the Tavistock was a changed institution, as the younger generation had experienced power and influence in the armed forces, and they were enthusiastic to train in psychoanalysis, and to use psychoanalytic knowledge in their work with the clinic. Rawlings Rees had built a vast network. The Tavistock Clinic soon spread worldwide.
As a consultant army psychiatrist, Sir John Rawlings Rees visited Hitler's deputy, Rudolf Hess, at the secret prison location where he was held, following his capture after landing in Scotland. Hess's diaries document many meetings with Sir John Rawlings Rees, referred to at this time as Colonel Rees, in which he accused his captors of attempting to poison, drug, and mesmerize him. Rawlings Rees established a relationship with Hess over the 4-year period up to Hess's appearance at the Nuremberg trial. It was at the request of Major Henry Dix, who was a fellow member of the Tavistock Clinic group, that Rees first visited Rudolf Hess. In 1945, Rees was a member of the 3-man British panel, with Churchill's personal physician Lord Moran, an eminent neurologist, Dr. George Riddoch, that assessed the capability of Rudolf Hess to stand trial for war crimes.
Sir John Rawlings Rees and Henry Dix may very well have obtained the Nazi blueprint for mind control from Hess.
A huge grant by the Rockefellers led to the birth of the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, which is why some call it the Rockefeller-Tavistock Institute.
The Rockefeller family wields inordinate influence over American political and economic institutions. They are part of a secret society, working against the best interests of the United States. Globalists and internationalists, conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated, global, political, and economic structure.
The House of Rockefeller is, first and foremost, the invisible government of the United States. Invisible government is controlling the wheels of government behind a smokescreen. The Rockefeller family has plunged the world into a never-ending cycle of wars which ravages the environment and humanity. They have forced upon us an unnecessary dependence on fossil fuel, while suppressing free energy, and now blame us for jeopardizing the planet with climate change. And they have plundered and robbed the nation and the world. That the entire Tavistock organization owes its existence to the Rockefellers illustrates common purposes' origins.
In 1947, Rawlings Rees took his vision to the United Nations and formed the World Federation for Mental Health with Monty Hugh Norman, the governor of the Bank of England, who had funded and manipulated Adolf Hitler and the Nazis to power.
Lord Montague Norman was governor of the Bank of England from 1916 to 1944. During this period, he participated in the central bank conferences, which set up the crash of 1929 and a worldwide depression. After the Second World War, Europe was in dire need of American gold, and the Federal Reserve System gave it to them, $500 million worth. The movement of that gold out of the United States caused the deflation of the stock boom, the end of the business prosperity of the 1920s, and the Great Depression of 1929 to 31, the worst calamity which has ever befallen the United States. The bankers knew what would happen when that $500 million worth of gold was sent to Europe. They wanted the Depression because it put the business and finance of the United States in their hands.
Sir John Rawlings Rees was a vehement racist and supporter of the eugenics master race movement. He wrote in his book, The Shaping of Psychiatry by War, published in 1945, that the Tavistock Group had demonstrated during the Second World War that there was a psychopathological tenth of the population who were genetically stupid. The numbers of these people had to be controlled, he said, to protect civilized society, and it was necessary to take steps, including the use of psychiatry, to prevent their increase in numbers, especially in the backward colonial countries, which threatened the civilized world.
Rawlings Rees also said that there was another 10% of the population whose genetic superiority and psychological training made them suitable to occupy the seats of power. A ruling class, one that has a divine right to rule the world. The Tavistock Clinic proved dysfunctional. A transition to a collegiate professional democracy took place, when problems arising from the Depression shook many cherished beliefs, and raised new questions concerning the role of social factors in psychological illness. This organizational revolution brought to the front a younger generation of clinicians, with a level of ability and a maverick quality. They initiated a psychotropic drug policy that treated patients by dosing them with high levels of mind-altering drugs. The Tavistock Clinic and the Rawlings-Rees networks had spent both world wars studying the effects of war psychosis and its breakdown of individual personality. From their work, an evil thesis emerged. Through the use of terror, man can be reduced to a childlike and submissive state, in which his powers of reason are clouded, and in which his emotional response to various situations and stimuli can become predictable, or in Tavistockian terms, profitable. By controlling the levels of anxiety, it is possible to induce a similar state in large groups of people, whose behavior can then be controlled and manipulated.
Sir John Rawlings Rees has shown to have a background in mass mind control and experimentation on humans. He has been shown to have ties with Nazi collaborators and bankers funding Hitler's war machine. His organization has infiltrated nearly every aspect of public service projects in the UK and the US. The original Tavistock Clinic, led by John Rawlings Rees, developed as the Psychological Warfare Centre for the Royal Family and British Intelligence. Rees and a group of Freudian psychiatrists applied wartime experience of psychological collapse to create theories about how such conditions of breakdown could be induced, absent the terror of war. The result was a theory of mass brainwashing, involving group experience, that could be used to alter the values of individuals, and through that, induce, over time, changes in the axiomatic assumptions that govern society. Common purpose. We have attempted to show you how the historic center of this mass psy-war apparatus is based in the Tavistock Institute. We have illustrated the true motives that drive the psychiatrists and military dictators that are behind its creation, and brought to light the sinister agenda of the madmen that seek to use this Nazi concept to gain control of the world's population. After the outbreak of World War II, Tavistock operatives took effective control of the Psychological Warfare Directorate of the British Army, while its allied network in the United States embedded itself in the American Psychological Warfare apparatus, and now, this psychological war machine is being used against the people in the form of the seemingly innocent movement known as Common Purpose. John Rawlings Rees wrote, "Wars have, I suppose, always been wasteful and destructive, Yet at the same time, out of the peculiar conditions created by conflict and national effort, there seem to have come some things that are of value. War experience is a valuable testing ground for most of us, and certainly this is true for psychiatrists. Under horrific conditions, one perhaps discovers more easily and more rapidly than under any other situational stress what the personality and quality of a man are.
Mass media is capable of reaching large numbers of people with programmed or controlled messages, which is key to the creation of controlled environments for brainwashing purposes. As Tavistock's researches showed, it was important that the victims of mass brainwashing not be aware that their environment was being controlled. That is why a vast number of sources for information exist, whose messages could be varied slightly, so as to mask the sense of external control. Where possible, the messages should be offered and reinforced through entertainments, which could be consumed without apparent coercion, and with the victim perceiving himself as making a choice between various options and outlets.
These concepts were developed by Adolf Hitler and coerced out of Rudolf Hess by John Rawlings Rees and his associates at the Tavistock Institute, to be put into use against humanity by the New World Order. Allowing ourselves to be influenced by the subtle but powerful illusions presented by television leads to a kind of mass madness that can have rather frightening implications for the future of the nation. We will have begun to see things that aren't there, giving someone else the power to make up our illusions for us. The prospect is frightening, and given our cultural heritage, we should know better. Welcome to the New World Order.
Critical, your rhymes are despicable, small. Inspiration dedicated, the mention gold for gold with
You are now under my
so cold, in the name of your mouth, you cement host. I was resurrected from the dead to put on the show. Annihilating anyone who says I'm like both. Distributing the young dumb and to the old, making bitches go pro, cause they love my dope. See crack.
Tavistock Institute has developed such power in the U.S. that no one achieves prominence in any field unless he has been trained in behavioral science at Tavistock or one of its subsidiaries. Henry Kissinger, whose meteoric rise to power is otherwise inexplicable, was a German refugee and student of Sir John Rawlings Rees. Dr. Peter Bourne, a Tavistock Institute psychologist, picked Jimmy Carter for President of the U.S. solely because Carter had undergone an intensive brainwashing program administered by Admiral Hyman Rickover at Annapolis.
Tavistock Institute originated the mass civilian bombing raids carried out by Roosevelt and Churchill, purely as a clinical experiment in mass terror, keeping records of the results as they watched the guinea pigs reacting under controlled laboratory conditions. All Tavistock techniques have a single goal: to break down the psychological strength of the individual and render him helpless to oppose the dictators of the New World Order. In a common-purpose brainwashing group, a number of individuals from varying backgrounds and personalities are manipulated by a group leader to form a consensus of opinion, achieving a new group identity. The key to the process is the creation of a controlled environment in which stress is introduced, sometimes called dissonance, to crack an individual's belief structure. Using the peer pressure of other group members, the individual is cracked, and a new personality emerges with new values. The degrading experience causes the person to deny that any change has taken place. In that way, an individual is brainwashed without the victim knowing what has taken place. A single common denominator identifies the common Tavistock strategy, the use of drugs. The infamous MKUltra program of the CIA, in which unsuspecting CIA officials were given LSD, and their reaction studied, like guinea pigs, resulted in several deaths. The U.S. government had to pay millions in damages to the families of the victims, but the culprits were never indicted. The program originated when Sandoz AG, a Swiss drug firm owned by S.G. Warburg Company of London, developed lysergic acid. Roosevelt's advisor, James Paul Warburg, son of Paul Warburg who wrote the Federal Reserve Act, and nephew of Max Warburg who had financed Hitler, set up the Institute for Policy Studies to promote the drug. The result was the LSD counterculture of the 1960s, the Student Revolution, which was financed by $25 million from the CIA.
Any technique which helps to break down the family unit and family principles of religion, honor, patriotism and sexual behavior is used by the Tavistock scientists as weapons of crowd control. The methods of Freudian psychotherapy induce permanent mental illness in those who undergo this treatment by destabilizing their character. The victim is then advised to establish new rituals of personal interaction, that is, to indulge in brief sexual encounters, which actually set the participants adrift, with no stable personal relationships in their lives, destroying their ability to establish or maintain a family. Dysfunction, 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 dysfunction.
Today the Tavistock Institute operates a $6 billion a year network of foundations in the U.S. All of it funded by U.S. taxpayers' money. 10 major institutions are under its direct control, with 400 subsidiaries, and 3,000 other study groups and think tanks which originate many types of programs to increase the control of the New World Order over the American people. It carries on program surveillance and extensive intelligence operations for the CIA. It is the largest institution in the world, promoting mind control and the behavioral sciences. It is also the organization behind Common Purpose.
Imagine that a stranger broke into your home, robbing it, leaving it in ruins, and then kidnaps your children to work as servants within his home. This stranger, fearing an eventual retribution from these kidnapped children, will find it necessary to implement systems for ensuring that these children remain loyal. The stranger may do so by routinely showing the children pictures of their ruined former home, while falsely retelling the details of the event, that he merely rescued them from the ruins, and that their parents didn't want them. This would cause the children to develop an undeserving sense of loyalty and appreciation towards their kidnapper. The kidnapper may also find it necessary to implement a scheme to divide the children, to prevent them from unifying against him, by teaching them not to trust each other, while simultaneously teaching them to trust only him. This scenario may sound far-fetched, but this is exactly what is going on in today's world. Our government has been hijacked, and it happened right before our eyes, and we are so busy arguing whether or not it happened, that we are powerless to do anything about it.
We have shown you the true nature of the beast. The Common Purpose movement, though it appears to be the complete consolidation of intellect and leadership, is in reality the right arm of the globalist factions. Once you become aware of the true role of these foundations, you will understand with greater detail why nothing works anymore: the high interest rates, high taxes, the destruction of the family, the degradation of the churches into forums for revolution, the subversion of the universities into CIA cesspools of drug addiction, and the halls of government into sewers of international espionage and intrigue. The American citizen can now understand why every agent of the federal government is against him. The alphabet agencies, the FBI, IRS, CIA, and the ATF, must make war on the citizen in order to carry out the programs of the New World Order, and the globalist factions. Tavistock is behind every spontaneous social movement of the last century, including feminism, sexual liberation, the peace movement, the New Age movement, environmentalism, homosexuality, and abortion. The moral, spiritual, racial, economic, cultural and intellectual bankruptcy we are in the midst of today is not some social phenomena that just happened. Rather, it is the product of a carefully planned Tavistock program.
We are constantly being studied to see how we will react under stress, to find out how far we will go when our fears are ignited. Orson Welles' Martian Invasion in 1938 was designed to demonstrate the power of the news to deceive. Our political leaders are chosen by their willingness to collaborate with the Common Purpose Collective. Most people will do whatever it takes to be successful. Many actually think they are free citizens creating a better world. They are the victims of mind control and brainwashing by the Tavistock Institute. Stalin's propaganda chief, Willy Munzenberg, once said, "All news is lies, and all propaganda is disguised as news."
450 of the Fortune 500 companies get their marching orders from Tavistock. This may explain why TV commercials seem more concerned with social engineering than with selling a product. Is this the cultural message to send to children? They are messing people up, so we are too divided and dysfunctional to resist them. More and more people are recognizing the plot. Like in the movie, The Matrix, people are waking up. They are testing the official storyline, and finding it harder to accept than any of the conspiracy theories. Most conspiracy theories are hard to believe, but the official government version of what happened on 9/11 actually upsets the laws of physics and reality, to the point of being ridiculous. Early in this program, we mentioned that brainwashing techniques were based on creating terror, short of war. In other words, creating the terrors of war without the war.
In order to verify the way the buildings collapsed and how the heat had affected the steel, NIST commissioned numerous tests, some of which were conducted by a company called Underwriters Labs.
And Kevin Ryan, he's the former employee from Underwriters Laboratories who challenged the NIST report and went public with it. Within a week he was fired from his job.
We did test the floor models in August of 2004. And those tests disproved the primary theory behind the collapse of the buildings. It was called the pancake theory. The floors would collapse upon each other into a stack of pancakes, and then the columns were no longer supporting, the columns would fall apart. Well, the floor models didn't collapse in the tests, and these were in furnaces. Floor models didn't collapse. Testing furnaces at much hotter temperature, longer periods of collapse. They still didn't collapse. Still didn't collapse. So, a few months later, the government put out an update on their report. And they stated not only that the floors did not collapse, but they had done tests on the few samples they had saved from the fire zones. And those tests proved that the temperatures were very low, temperatures were very low, temperatures were very low, temperatures were very low, temperatures were not hot enough, temperatures were not hot enough to even soften steel, and yet they're coming out with a summary statement that says that's what actually did happen, that the floors did collapse and the steel did soften. It still didn't collapse.
The events of September 11 were Tavistock's carefully crafted masterpiece. Its design was mass mind control. The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations is a public opinion shaping factory. Its global reach extends into the world media and crosses political boundaries like no entity has ever done in history. Psychiatrists at the Tavistock Clinic made medical breakthroughs to the understanding of the traumatic effects of shell shock, and how soldiers who suffered these symptoms in battle were easily manipulated and controlled. The subsequent state of mind produced by trauma and significant terror leaves the mind readily able to accept mental programming, which comes in the form of mass media. The mass media is clearly one of the most powerful institutions in society. It is, for most of the public, the ultimate source of all their information, and the Tavistock Institute considers the media its primary asset. The structure of the mass media will therefore have fundamental implications for the political and cultural orientation of the public. All scholars generally agree that the media do have the capacity to set the agenda of public discourse about world affairs. However, the media limits the public's understanding of current affairs, and the overall consequences of this is ignorance.
John Swinton, chief of staff of the New York Times, wrote to his counterparts in the media, "There is not one of you who would dare to write his honest opinion. The business of a journalist now is to destroy the truth, to lie outright, to pervert, to vilify, fall at the feet of Mammon and sell himself for his daily bread. We are tools, vessels of rich men behind the scenes. We are jumping jacks. They pull the strings. We dance. Our talents, our possibilities and our lives are the properties of these men. We are intellectual prostitutes." The mainstream media is controlled by the same elite that are exposed in this documentary. They are the ones who decide what will be printed in the press, and what will be announced in the news. This means that our reality is severely distorted by lies, half-truths, and propaganda that these people feed us with on a daily basis. What is written in the papers and announced on CNN will be the norm, but is not what is really happening. Media is not there for us, but for the globalists behind both the world government and the common purpose movements, seeking to subvert and hide the truth from us. shoving patriotism down our throats, while secretly dismantling the constitutions of sovereign countries. No society will tolerate it, if they knew that they as a country were responsible for violently killing 12 to 15 million people since World War II, and causing the deaths of hundreds of millions more since World War I. Their economies were destroyed in the name of preserving peace. So the globalist factions have embarked on a campaign to paint war in a different light. They force us to honor combatants as heroes, while mouthing peace, freedom, justice, right, and majority rule all over the world. Their true purpose is that of world control. Since World War I, Tavistock scientists have been researching the means of putting a global agenda into action, overthrowing democratic governments, installing and protecting dictators, and preventing peace, freedom, justice, rights, and majority rule. $12 to 15 million mostly innocent people were slaughtered during the course of their experiments. The mad doctors behind this science fiction horror story come reality are the center of this documentary.
Looking for a friend. I'm not thinking the big idea. I'm not down on the ground looking for a killer. I'm not saying that I'm the man.
Evidence produced in this documentary has shown that Common Purpose is more than a charity empowering people and communities. In fact, CP is a New World Order organization helping to replace democracy worldwide with CP-chosen leaders. In truth, their hidden networks and political objectives are undermining and destroying our democratic society, and are threatening free will in adults, teenagers and children. Their work is funded by public money and big business, including international banks. The producers of this documentary feel that it's important to realize that, like the Masons, the majority of Common Purpose graduates are victims who have little if any understanding of the wider role of Common Purpose within the world government movement, nor of its connections to the New World Order, drawn into CP training by a flattering invitation, or selected by their company or organization. This recruitment is normally carried out by a previously trained CP person, now recruiting for the cause. Candidates are screened and selected, or rejected, by CP advisory board members in their area. Both candidates and trained graduates will have no real understanding of Common Purpose's wider role to help achieve a political and social paradigm shift in the world. the real objective would appear to be to replace our traditional form of democracy with the new regime of the globalist empire.
C.S. Lewis wrote, "The greatest evil is not done in those sordid dens of evil that Charles Dickens loved to paint, but is conceived and ordered, moved, seconded, carried, and minuted, in clear-carpeted, warmed, well-lighted offices, by quiet men, with white collars, and cut fingernails, and smooth-shaven cheeks, who do not need to raise their voices, and we should remember that evil flourishes where good men do nothing." We should also remember that, in the absence of light, evil grows. Common purpose. Common purpose. The producers of this documentary hope that we have managed to shine a bit of light on this dark entity known as common purpose. Thank you for watching. Common purpose. Common purpose.